Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Yamuna Tira Manachari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Kunja Bihari Radha Kunja Bihari Radhe Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Radha Kunja Bihari Radha Kunja Bihari Radhe Jai Jagannath Jai Baladev Mai Subhadra Jaya Srinataji Jai Balagopal Jaya Srinataji Jai Giri Govardhan Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Prabhupada Jaya Srila Prabhupada Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astotara Satya Shishimardis Divine Grace, founder of ISKCON, Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Granthraj Shrimadbhagavatam Ki Their most merciful Lordship Shri Shri Radha Kunja Bihari Ki Shri Jagannath Shri Baladev Mai Subhadra Ki Shri Nathaji Shri Balagopal Ki Shri Gauranitai Ki Itai Go Premanand All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the Lord of Spirit of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Jaya Mudiraye Nasta Prayashu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhagavati Naishtiki. Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 16. 16. Vichaksano Sharhati Veditum Vibhor Vichaksano Sharhati Veditum Vibhor Ananta Parasya Nivrittita Sukham Ananta Parasya Nivrittita Sukham Pravartamanasya Gunair Anatmanas Pravartamanasya Gunair Anatmanas Tato Bhava Darsaya Chestitam Vibho Tato Bhavan Darsaya Chestitam Vibho Vichaksano Sharhati Veditum Vibho Ananta Parasya Nivrittita Sukham Pravartamanasya Gunair Anatmanas Tato Bhavan Darsaya Chestitam Vibho Vichaksano Sharhati Veditum Vibho Ananta Parasya Nivrittita Sukham Pravartamanasya Gunaranatmanas Tato Bhavan Darsaya Chestitam Vibho. I'll go one more time, it's a tough one here. Vichaksano Sharhati Veditum Vibho Ananta Parasya Nivrittita Sukham Pravartamanasya Gunaranatmanas Tato Bhavan Darsaya Chestitam Vibho Vichaksano Sharhati Veditum Vibho Ananta Parasya Nivrittita Sukham Pravartamanasya Gunaranatmanas Tato Bhavan Darsaya Chestitam Vibho Vichaksana very expert Asya of him Arhati deserves Veditum to understand Vibho of the Lord Ananta Parasya of the unlimited Nivrittita retired from Sukham, material happiness. Pravartamanasya, those who are attached to. Guna, by the material qualities. Anatmana, devoid of knowledge and spiritual value. Tata, therefore, Bhava, your goodness. Darsaya, show the ways. Chestitam, activities. Vibho, of the Lord. Vichaksino syayarti veditum vibhor ananta parasya nivrittita sukham pravartamanasya guneranatmanas tato bhavan darsaya chestitam vibho. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality, retired from the activities of material happiness, deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness, through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. Please repeat. The Supreme Lord, is unlimited. Only a very expert personality, retired from the activities of material happiness, deserve to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness, through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord is unlimited. Only a very expert personality, retired from the activities of material happiness, deserves to understand this knowledge of spiritual values. Therefore, those who are not so well situated due to material attachment should be shown the ways of transcendental realization by your goodness, through descriptions of the transcendental activities of the Supreme Lord. Purport by His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanadavinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Theological science is a difficult subject, especially when it deals with the transcendental nature of God. It's not a subject matter to be understood by persons who are too much attached to material activities. Only the very expert, who have almost retired from materialistic activities by culture of spiritual knowledge, can be admitted to the study of this great science. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly stated that out of many hundreds and thousands of men, only one person deserves to enter into transcendental realization. And out of many thousands of such transcendentally realized persons, only a few can understand the theological science specifically dealing with God as a person. Sri Vyasadeva is therefore advised by Narad to describe the science of God directly by relating his transcendental activities. Vyasadeva is himself a personality expert in this science, and he's unattached to material enjoyment. Therefore, he is the right person to describe it. And Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyasadeva, is the right person to receive it. Shrimadbhagavatam is the topmost theological science. Therefore, it can react on the layman as medicine, as medicinal doses. Because it contains the transcendental activities of the Lord, there is no difference between the Lord and the literature. The literature is the factual, literary incarnation of the Lord. So the layman can hear the narration of the activities of the Lord. Thereby, they are able to associate with the Lord and thus gradually become purified from material diseases. The expert devotees also can discover novel ways and means to convert the non-devotees in terms of particular time and circumstance. Devotional service is dynamic activity, and the expert devotees can find out competent means to inject it into the dull brains of the materialistic population. Such transcendental activities of the devotees for the service of the Lord can bring a new order of life to the foolish society of materialistic men. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his subsequent followers exhibited expert dexterity in this connection. By following the same method, one can bring the materialistic men of this age of quarrel into order for peaceful life and transcendental realization. Om Jnana Timirandasya Granjana Shalakaya Chakshusun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. One time, Radhanath Swami was giving a lecture, and one guy, when it's time for questions, he says, "So you're a monk?" He says, "If we were all monks, then society wouldn't function." He said, "Then we could." He said, "You're just a big farce." And so Radhanath Swami says, "Well, what do you do for a profession?" He says, "I'm a CPA." So if we were all CPAs, then there would be money to count. So this is revealing to us also the need, like I was talking last time in class, the need for us to develop ways in our mind to be able to present these activities also ourselves. The same way Narada is instructing Vedavyas himself, Sri Krishna, on the need to present to society at large these activities. So now he's giving knowledge of these activities to us. Why? To go out and give it to the general public, the masses. And Srila Prabhupada is revealing it's very special, a person who is being given that to. You are those people. We are those people. And so there's a saying amongst those health enthusiasts who are looking to preserve their bodies: if you don't use it, you lose it. So this ability to communicate with the general public, if you do it every day, going out, somehow trying to convince people of how to take a book, why it's so important, how it can affect your consciousness, how can it make life fulfilling and satisfying. When you engage in it every day, the science of the communicational aspect of it, you get better at, better and better and better. But if you don't do it at all, you get worse and worse and worse, so to speak. There has been a study done by people who use the mind, and we were just talking this morning while we were cooking, or we were sharing association, about how to tell the difference between the mind and the soul. And as far as I know, I don't know of any other practice that can reveal this as clearly as this chanting does. Because here you sit down with the intention as the soul to chant. You're going to chant, and in your mind, you're aiming towards pure chanting. I'm only going to think about Krishna, right? And then start chanting, and boom, right away, here comes these thoughts. Boy, I wonder what it's like outside. Did I leave this sitting there? Where is my book? Where is this thing? Where's that thing? How old am I? You know, what's it like outside? All these thoughts, and that's the mind. That's the mind. When you yourself is set forth to do something, and then all these other thoughts come in, that's the mind. So this chanting enables us to see. And see, this is what the difference between the transcendental knowledge that Narada is instructing Vyasadeva to give and the perfection of the mind even. Because all the instructions he had given to this point in the 4 Vedas was for the perfection of man's quote-unquote materialistic endeavors in this world. And so separating them from the spiritual now, he's saying, okay, you've given them the means of becoming perfect in their endeavors for the labors they have to take part in this material world. Now give them your own activities by meditation upon, because you are free. Vedavyasa is free from himself having to engage in those activities that he's given people the perfect injunctions to be able to engage in. He doesn't have to himself engage in those activities. So being free then, he has the ability to give that freedom to others by his pastimes and by their minds then engaging in those pastimes. Those minds that engage in that become free from the thoughts of the world. And so this is how we are being empowered by Krishna as well, just by learning these pastimes, learning about them, and then being able to communicate to other people about them. You ever drive down the road and then you see an animal crossing across the street, right? In Florida, you see armadillos. Well, you run over it, but boom, that thing rolls up in a little round ball and boom, 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 you know, but like with a turtle. You see an animal, and then immediately it can draw your attention to Krishna. He's taken every form there is. So immediately we think of Kurma in the form of the turtle, which Krishna took pleasure in a mountain. Not a small mountain, a big mountain. To scratch his back. This mountain, Meru, I think it's called. Isn't that Mount Meru that was churning the causal ocean? The demons had hold of one side of Vasuki. The serpent Vasuki wrapped his whole body around Mount Meru, with his heads being pulled by one, the demigods, and the demons pulling the tail. And the demons complain, oh no, we want to pull the head. Well, after all this churning goes on, just like with milk, when you churn milk, when you churn curd, you get butter. And then churning milk, cream is separated. You don't churn milk, churn yogurt. Yogurt makes butter, and so many things come out from the butter. We get ghee. But with this churning of the causal ocean came so many things. And then at the end of all of that, this nectar was produced. And by the drinking of that nectar, then one would gain an extremely long life on the heavenly planets. So just like only certain souls are being allowed to be exposed to these transcendental literatures, only certain souls are allowed to drink that somaras, even within the entirety of the universe, which is a very small group of people who are allowed to have that. But we, with our consciousness, we can soak in the nectar of the eternalness of Krishna's pastimes, which far exceeds anything in this material universe, that all of our perfected lives in obeying the Vedas perfectly more than that can produce. These pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna being given to us in their purest form, because they're even being revealed. What Krishna is thinking when he's interacting with his devotees, and it says, and Krishna was thinking like this. I want to do this for them, like that. And so then the reaction that Krishna has with his devotees, then you're also interacting while you're reading about it, and that is also Leela. So your mind can bring you into connection with Krishna through the consciousness that we are having. Jai Shri Radha Gandhaviyari, Jai Jagannath, Jai Baladev, Jai Shri Shivanitai. We are experiencing pain, pleasure, happiness, relationships, friendship, love, all through consciousness, through the consciousness that is brought into manifestation by the soul, being given the opportunity, the particular set of circumstances necessary for it to manifest in this world. Now, if we can, this breath that we have, we can become also independent of. This is what I was realizing about this chanting. Dhruva Maharaj, Krishna was so pleased with Dhruva Maharaj, who got to the point of not even requiring air anymore. You could take a breath like once in 2 weeks or so, I think it was. Revealing that one who surrenders to Krishna, he gains everything there is to be gained in this human form. Can you imagine? You don't even need breath. That's like the most, how long can you go without breathing? You could go weeks without breathing. And what is replaced by that then? Then what the devotee is replacing that breath that would otherwise be used to create sound vibration, more than likely about things in this material world that are all temporary. Now it's being used to produce a sound that is of a completely different nature, of anything that the one who is producing it, we are, has ever experienced with anything in this world. So this name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, can bring us right into the very presence of Krishna. We don't have to be in the temple. We could be in a bus. Could be shoveling stool in a barn, Anywhere you may find yourself, the chanting makes itself the perfect set of circumstances. So that the chanting itself, by creating a transcendental environment, the sound vibration of your voice creates a transcendental environment. Then the soul, with full realization of what that is, then finds the happiness we are described as being. We are that happiness that we are looking to experience. So in effect, you could say that it's natural, this process of self-realization. When you went to college, in the first couple of years, students are still figuring out, what am I going to do? Isn't it? It takes 2, 3, 4 years. Well, this is the stage that should be used for study of Bhagavatam that will bring that self-realization that the soul is longing to know about. And most of them draw conclusions sometimes that they have to change their minds about as well. Because it's nothing in this world is going to satisfy that eternal longing that only eternalness can satisfy. So we look for beauty in people as well. People look for beauty when they get married. And then that doesn't satisfy. 50 years later, 20 years later, 10 years later, it can be an unsatisfying experience. Because we're looking for Krishna. The soul, everything the soul is longing after in its perfection of life, beauty, fame, strength, renunciation, knowledge, one other thing. That's what is it? Wealth. Yeah, one thing I'm not looking after. But Krishna has all these things in perfection, in completeness. He owns everything. Although he's not going to give us a way to go out and look for ways of making money. By giving knowledge, money automatically comes. If we have the desire to give to Krishna that is his. Lakshmi Devi, who is a person, an expansion of Krishna, Krishna's energy, coming from Shrimati Radharani. As a person, if she is lusted after, her energy is lusted after, right? So we go to her for things, and it's not a pleasing thing all the time. If you got somebody always knocking on, isn't this advertising? You get that on the telephone. Ring, ring, pick it up. Hello, would you like to buy some insurance? Would you like to buy this thing? Would you like to buy that thing? That's what we're doing with Krishna. Give me this, give me that. I want this thing. I'd like to have that thing, you know. So the same thing with wealth. And knowledge can be also that kind of a distraction from the person from whom all these things come, who is Krishna. So Narad is telling Vedavyas, instead of giving them distractions from, give them the real, the eternal. So everything else is a distraction from Krishna when you think about it. Even all the ways we have of trying to perfect our lives, generally we're wanting it for ourselves. You know, we want to be better at this so we can make more money at it. We want to be better at this thing so people adore us more. We want to be better. And where does Krishna come into all that? Already the soul is perfect already in its original state. And so the activities we have carried out in our lives have led us to have imperfect bodies. I'm asking Krishna whether this function, because Dhruva, when he did please Krishna to the extent he actually got darshan from Krishna, he had concluded that all of everything else he had been seeking for was like looking for broken glass. But from what I understand of the account, Krishna gave him an imperishable planet. Imperishable. It's not going to be destroyed even at the end of this universe with the rest of the planets. Not only that, but all the planets in the universe are circumambulating Dhruva Loka. Think about that. What kind of a soul is this? And even the sun is circumambulating Dhruva Loka. See, my thought still is, I want to get a telescope and start looking at these from a different perspective. You can actually, with your own eyes, see a planet which is of an eternal nature. That's Dhruva Loka. The North Star, which everybody uses as a guide, don't they? We're circumambulating Dhruva Loka. That in and of itself is a pious activity. And so Krishna puts us in a place to automatically perform functions of a pious nature. We don't even know what's going on. So our relationship also in this universe has been like that for millions of years. We never lose totally our connection with Krishna. But if we don't bring him into our consciousness, then our experience will not be complete. And that's what, again, Narad Muni is pointing to, the experience of those who will be reading these literatures he is appealing to, And that is what our development of communication with the souls out there who are themselves involving themselves in what is pleasurable to them, what makes them happy. And so we put ourselves in a place to actually come down, in a sense. And the preacher's only interested in talking about Krishna. These people have their minds full of all these other things that they think is going to make them happy. So now we find all those other things connection to Krishna, and then we reveal through the pastimes. Talk to a dancer, then reveal about the pastimes of Kaliya, that Krishna danced on his head. Now, by Kaliya giving Krishna a platform for his feet, then he's also performing devotional service. But Krishna stomped on his head to give him liberation, actually. That's what he does to demons. But even Kaliya, the serpent, to be able to gain direct personal association with Krishna, even these demons, they're not ordinary souls. So sometimes when we read, even if someone from the spiritual world can be cursed, Jagai and Marai, they were cursed to take birth on the earth. And they had the choice. They could take the birth as demons or as devotees. But because it took less lives as demons, they decided to please Krishna by fighting with Krishna. Krishna was looking for somebody to fight with of his own stature, right? What 7-foot tall guy wants to fight with a 3-foot tall warrior? So Krishna wanted someone to fight with his own stature. And so his own guard, that he had chosen to be a guard, he's going to choose someone to be a guard by his own standards. Then if he puts him in the position of guard, then certainly Krishna has decided that this particular soul I have chosen to be my guard would be qualified to fight with me, right? So this is how he reasons in his mind as well. Krishna would be just as pleased to fight with somebody at this point because he has nobody to fight with. So I will go to fight with Krishna. But just like a brother, it said, a brother is born for adversity. So when the master is teaching his student how to become more perfect with his science of protecting the general populace, then they will fight together. They spar. But they make each other better by fighting, because they're doing it with love and the desire to be able to do that. So Vedavyas there was dissatisfied with the feelings he was getting from only giving this aspect that applied to their lives in this particular set of circumstances, where Narada Muni says, give them the knowledge of the things that will be for the setting that they should be, given the guidance to for the next life. Because if we compare the length of time we're going to spend in this material world to eternity, it's like a flash. This whole time spent, like we're looking in our childhood as not too long ago. Similarly, when Brahma is brought to the end of his days, even 311 trillion, 400 billion times the earth goes around the sun, and Brahma, it will have looked at it like a very short period of time. And we ourselves, it is said, in many cases, have been Brahmas, fallen now. So Brahma can come by choice, and he can fall down as well to heavenly planets, lower planets, middle planets, Pataloka, all the way down. So what instruction Vedavyas is given is for everyone to benefit by and to experience transcendence. It's 10 to 9, because we have time for questions, comments, realizations. This is the greatest sacrifice. It looks to me that Krishna is revealing that pleases him the most, is sacrificing the breath of your mouth. Because this is what Vedavyasa is giving us the ability to do, is use the words of our mouth now to give other people transcendence. Anything you talk about Krishna is transcendental. And when you have that personal relationship with him, as you speak it to other people, it gets greater and greater. And then we get such a close friendship with Krishna, he starts to reveal to us. He wants to give us these abilities, but we have to become mature enough to be able to use them for the proper purpose. So if Srila Prabhupada had set forth in the United States to make for himself a big name and all this other stuff, it would never happen. But selflessly, after suffering 2 heart attacks on the Jaladuta, can you imagine, and still setting forth on one of the greatest accomplishments I've seen of any, he's my hero, Srila Prabhupada. Isn't it? Look what he's accomplished. To have established so many temples, when he left over 100 temples, giving them this that Narad Muni was given to by being himself the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and taking that form for that purpose to give it to us. To give it to us is why Srila Prabhupada came for us. He came here for me and you, and anyone that will take these literatures seriously. It wasn't given to those who don't care. It wasn't given to those who think it's just a bunch of fancy stories. And they don't get it in this life then. It'll take them more lifetimes. But Krishna is giving it to us, so to show our appreciation, we just do everything we can to follow the instructions. And the instructions are such that give us everything we need to go back to Godhead. And that should be our aim. Please Krishna this life. Experience the highest forms of happiness there is available, to be a friend with the one in whose hands all pleasure is held. You want to marry somebody? You want to fall in love? Ask Krishna. You want money? Ask Krishna. You want a pleasurable house to live in? Ask Krishna. He's the source of everything there is. But the greatest treasure is to get Krishna. And if you want his friendship, if you want his love, then that's also available. And it's by studying and reading of these pastimes that he has that we can prove to him that we do really love what Krishna has done for us. To come here, think about having made manifest to everybody in the world that left him out of a desire to enjoy separately, right? Why are we here? We're here to try and enjoy separately. And yet he still comes to save us from ourselves, basically. Going to save us from ourselves and the things we think are good for us, and give us what really is the best, perfection. Any questions, any comments, any realizations? Anyone like to share? Grantaraj Shrimadbhagavatam. Yeah, you have a question?
Sorry, I could not attend the whole class. But I like that at you said, we can go to Krishna for anything, for the house, for the spouse, or whatever. But once we have Krishna, then we have everything by default.
That's right. Everything else comes automatically. Once you have Krishna, then you realize he's making the way anyways for everything about his movement that he has himself established. So volunteering is actually accepting a privilege that is not being offered by any other institution, to be able to live in the eternal dwelling after this life, in the next life. 17 is the next verse. Right?
You talked about journey of the milk ocean.
Say that again?
The journey of the milk ocean.
The milk ocean, yes, the journey.
So when we chant, are we chanting our mind? Like so many concepts from this life.
Wow.
So in the beginning, the
See,
license coming up.
it that all these impurities that come to the mind is like ghee boiling. When you prepare ghee, you have to cook butter. But you cook it at a moderate rate so it doesn't burn on the bottom. But as it keeps cooking and cooking, all these impurities come to the top. You have to skim it off and skim it off. So the same way, our mind, hearing sound vibration, is cooking, and all these thoughts that are imperfections are coming to the mind. And the skimming is by us just avoiding. Let them pass. They will come, and then as you just avoid them, they just go away. And the more you avoid them, the less they come back. Eventually, they don't come back. Then eventually, we get filled constantly. And then there's no question of inattentive chanting if it's a continual conversation with Krishna. And that comes with your desire, just like Vedavyas has this desire. It is by a desire to want to bring others and give others what you have. This is what his desire is, isn't it? He wants to give to everyone at large, and he's given everything he feels is necessary. And yet he hasn't given those things that will actually give, which is the transcendental pastimes, his own pastimes. So when we are having relationship with Krishna, that's Leela. Those pastimes seen by the outside world. When we're chanting, people that even glimpse at the activity going on are seeing our relationship with Krishna in an activity that we're engaging in that is an eternal activity. This singing and dancing is going on in the spiritual world. And that's all Krishna asks us to do with our whole life. If you only do that, just sing and dance Krishna's names. But sing Krishna's names while you're singing and dancing. Otherwise, the singing and dancing is just nonsense. And we don't want to bring nonsense singing and dancing in the temple either, and that happens sometimes too. Because we take examples, just like Krishna says, what a great man does, other people will follow. So if we're being recognized by people as those who are having truth, whatever we do then, they want to follow. So we have to be careful we don't follow what we don't want other people to follow, right? Or we don't practice. So, just like dancing, there's a yogi dance, yogi step. You put one foot in front of the other, and you take that one back, and you put the other foot in front of the other, and you don't have to disturb everybody else. And you stay in your one little tiny significant spot where you're chanting for Krishna. That's a sacred place then. Chant in any place for 1 year, and it becomes a sacred place. And we have done that in Ann Arbor. By chanting in Ann Arbor at this art fair they have once a year, we had secured by nature. Nobody owned this corner spot, right? And every year they let the devotees sit on that spot. It was right in the middle of the most busiest intersection downtown Ann Arbor. And by misuse, we lost the ability to use that spot. I don't know, maybe now it's been restored. But we were asked to turn the volume down. And devotees in their improper, immature mind turned it up instead. Stupid. What can be done? Sometimes what we think is good is not necessarily the best. And so, yeah, Krishna's name should be blasted all over. But when you've got thousands of people in the same place trying as well to get the same message that they think is just as important as your message out, you have to have a mature viewpoint. And this is what the problem is with religion as a whole. Our way is the only way and the best, and we're better than everybody, and nobody else can be heard but us.
We're the only ones going to heaven, and everybody else is going
Exactly. And so then nobody wants to hear.
Yeah.
And they've all turned it off.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to be of that mind ourselves. Turn people off. So this is what Vedavyasa is looking for himself in his own mind. How do I bring people to Krishna? How do I give them what I am? And Narad Muni so clearly reveals it's by sharing Krishna's pastimes that we'll do that they will get liberated. We want them to be free. We want everybody to be free. We want everybody to be happy. And we know how. Because we're happy. And we get happy by taking prasadam. Hari Bol Prabhu, Shrimadbhagavatam.